all that long pause, that's probably when Coach Lombardi would probably jump in and say, "What the hell's going on around here?"
Oh, that's a pretty good guess.
Well, guys, we are live now on my page and in my group, We Bleed Green and Gold. And first, I want to thank you guys for, coming aboard and doing this with us tonight. I think it's a great thing, Glen, that you're doing. And first of all, Glen, I want to welcome you, and let people know you've been in the business for about 28 years now. And
a little over 30.
Oh, 30 now. Okay. Emmy nominated, very well known in the entertainment business for a long time. And you're going to be doing a documentary about Mr. Jerry Kramer.
Yeah, well, first of all, Jim, it's an honor to be here with you and your fans, and anything related to Packers. The name We Bleed Green and Gold is a perfect analogy for my life. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, grew up watching the Packers, and when I was 5 or 6 years old, when the Packers were in that 3-year run of championships, I always heard my uncles and dad, everybody screaming on Sundays, and it was quite exciting. And I also say at the Kickstarter page and in my bio that Instant Replay was a book that my father gave me when I was very young. And he said, this is a book you need to read. And so now you come, 30 years later, I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years and learned the film business, got into it kind of by accident, and been doing documentaries for the last 20, 25 years. And I like to do stories about great individuals. My company's called Icon TV. So anything about great icons is always interesting. I did a film on Les Paul, another hometown hero. So recently, a photographer friend of mine introduced me to Jerry, and had worked with Jerry for
Mark Mayfield's calling in. He's interrupted the.
Did we lose Jerry?
I'm all right. I just my screen went dark for a minute. I'm getting a phone call from Mark Mayfield.
Oh, okay. And so I'll just continue until we get Jerry's picture back. But so I had a chance to speak with Jerry over the phone, told him I'd be interested to do a story about his life. And of course, this was about a week or so after he was announced that he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And for all of us Packer fans, that's a question we've had on our mind for 50 years. What's going on? Why is Jerry not in the Hall of Fame? And so it was so exciting to see that happen finally. So deserving for Jerry and what he meant to the team. And so making a film about his life, I think is just, it's a no-brainer. Jerry is a wonderful man. We've now had a chance to, starting and making the film, become friends. And I'm, of course, doing a lot of research about his life. And I've interviewed a lot of his family and friends and people involved with his career so far. And it's an honor because Jerry lives his life in such a way that we all really kind of espouse to and inspire to treat people with respect, have humility, to treat human beings well. And of course, we just had Bart Starr pass, and Jerry was very close with Bart, and they're just exemplary people. So to make a film about Jerry's life, I think it's the perfect timing. Jerry's still young and looks great. And so we're ready to do this, and we want to bring it to the world, hopefully this fall during the Packers season.
Awesome. Could I jump in real quick and introduce the world? I don't think he needs any kind of introduction, but 2018 NFL Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer. Super excited, man. I get goosebumps. I've met you two times, and I get goosebumps, nervousness every time I see you, Jerry. Jerry, thank you for being part of this tonight.
Thank you for having me, Jim. Pleasure to be with you. And Glenn, thank you for all the kind words. It is kind of an interesting journey going back through time and looking at life and looking at a young guy from the sticks of Idaho, a little town of 3,000. I was born in a town of 252 people, so I was lucky to escape from that. But it's been quite a journey, and a dream, you know, that maybe I had when I was in the sophomore in high school or junior about maybe someday playing. I never shared it with anybody and never exposed myself to ridicule with my buddies. But I did think about what a wonderful thing it would be able to play that game. And lo and behold, I was so fortunate in the timing that the way things worked out. I was there the year before Coach Lombardi. I played 9 years with him and 1 year after he left. So I played a total of 11 years. And I don't think I could have picked a better 11 years in the last 100 years. So I feel very fortunate, Jim, to have been surrounded with a great bunch of guys, a great bunch of teammates, and a teacher named Vincent Thomas Lombardi. And he taught you a lot more than just football. He taught you a lot about life.
Man, it's incredible. I know quite often when I talk to people and everybody that meets you, you always bring back great memories and you love to share your stories about Vince, the team, your life, your family. And that kind of brings us back to Glen. Glen, you're doing this documentary called You Can If You Will. Will you share with everybody a little bit about that? You could have Jerry jump in, but we need people's help to get this film done. But if you could share a little bit about your goal with this film and what it's all about, and then maybe Jerry could tell us a little bit.
Sure. Well, the way I work, I'm a small boutique filmmaker. And so usually I get involved with projects where I'll put up a little bit of the front money to get rights to a book or a story, or in this case, make the deal with Jerry directly and to do this story. And so we funded the film with my resources to where we could get it. And we're about 60 to 65% of the way done. We filmed with Jerry at the Hall of Fame. We filmed the Alumni Week last year, Chicago Bears Green Bay game, and got all the interviews with Paul Hornung and Boyd Dowler and Dave Robinson and Carol Dale, et cetera. And then we were there the following week filming with Jerry for the Ring of Honor ceremony. And that was a real special moment to be on the field and to see his name go up on that Ring of Honor is just, you talk about goosebumps. That was a goosebumps moment. And I can only imagine what it was like for you, Jerry. But so I made a film 2 years ago about the US Festival, which was a different kind of a story. It was a music related story, but I needed some money to finish it to pay for the music publishing rights. I needed about 60 grand. And so a friend of mine turned me on with this guy who was kind of a Kickstarter guru with this crowdfunding thing is a new way that people fund movies. And so I was very successful with that. And I really enjoyed the process because it allows you to get right up close with your fans. You know, they're kind of pre-buying the movie, if you will. So they can see what you're doing. They can see some of the footage and they really feel involved. You engage them and it's a daily real-time endeavor. And so I told Jerry when we first met, I said, I'll put up the first bits of money. We'll get to where we can with it. And then I was hoping to make a pre-sale with someone like the NFL Network or ESPN. And we're talking to those people and they're very interested to license the film. But of course, big companies like that, their production schedules, they're already a year and a half in advance of what they're funding. And so we decided, you know what, let's just do it privately. And I thought this Kickstarter would be a great way to reach out to Packer Nation and have people come and pledge money to be part of the film. So what Kickstarter, basically, if you go to the page, it's posted at your site, but you can go to kickstarter.com and type in Jerry Kramer and our project will come up. You can, if you will. And then you can watch a video. There's a 5-minute video there that I introduce and tell you about the film and what we're doing, why we brought it to Kickstarter. And then there's a beautiful trailer of the film, of what's in the film and how the film is going to be executed. Really a powerful, emotional statement, I believe, about Jerry's life. And so then you can look at all the rewards, and we have rewards from $6 for a screensaver all the way up to, a $10,000 reward for, let's say, a corporate sponsor or, somebody that's just a huge, passionate fan that wants to help us and see the film get made. So we have an opportunity where people can really be involved. You can get tickets to the premiere and things like that, T-shirt, autograph poster, different kinds of things that we're offering for Packer fans. Of course, the film itself, a DVD of the film or Blu-ray copy, everybody will want that, or a digital download. So that's kind of the basic level. At $15 or $20, you get the basic film. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we wanted to reach out to Packer Nation. We started a campaign. We're about 2 weeks in. We're a little bit behind where I thought we would be. I thought we'd be at about a third of the way there. We're going for about 61,000, which is all we need to finish the film. And so I'm hopeful the Packer fans will go to the site. They'll pick the rewards they like, and they can really be a part of the process. That's what it's all about. And Jerry's fans, anybody that knows Jerry, he's got a unbelievable relationship with his fans. His fans truly love him, and he truly loves them. So I'll leave it to Jerry to, tell us. I was asking Jerry a question earlier, but Jerry, what's it going to be like for you to, with all that's happened in your life, winning championships and being part of the Packers, and now being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then on top of that, to see your life on the big screen? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a long way from Sandpoint, Idaho, or Jordan, Montana. I'll tell you that. Glenn, it's just been a dream, the whole journey. It's been, the books were really interesting. Dick Schaap was a wonderful co-author, led me down the trail, and we had just such tremendous reactions to the book. And that stunned me. I had no prior information, knowledge, awareness of writing a book, and I was just hoping that it would be published. And then it got to number 15 or something on the bestseller list, and then it got to number 5, and then number 2, and then it was number 1, and it stayed on the bestseller list for 44 weeks. And that was a very exciting time for me. And I've had at the Canton this year, had one of the Hall of Famers come up to me and say, "Jerry, I need to talk to you." And I said, "What about?" He said, "You changed my life." I said, "How so?" He said, "Well, I was a senior in high school, and I was discussing with my family, my grandparents, mom and dad, and the whole family about where I would go and what college I would go to and what I would study and why I would study. And I had pretty much figured out my future, and I read your book, and it changed my life. I decided to become a football guy." So he was Bill Polian, the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, was a fellow, and I thanked him, and I was humbled by the fact that he had read my book and it changed his life. And I was also a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going, I'm not that bright. I mean, I'm not that sure of myself and my life and the whole process, the whole journey. And I don't know if I want to be responsible for changing your life. But I thanked him, and I was very gracious, and it was a wonderful moment, and it was very flattering. And I think about it for the next week, and I finally come to the conclusion. I goes, "Well, it's not me, it's Coach Lombardi." The book was about Coach Lombardi and the Packer players and my teammates, and I was a messenger. That's all. I just told people about the coach's philosophies, his beliefs, his concepts, his life. And so it really wasn't me, it was Coach Lombardi. And so I was comfortable with that, and then kept thinking about it. And it came to me that about a week or 10 days later, I go, "Well, it wasn't really Coach Lombardi. It was Aristotle and Plato and the ancient Greeks." Coach Lombardi read ancient Greek and studied the ancient Greek philosophies. And so Plato and Aristotle are really to blame. So I'm off the hook. It's not really my fault, Bill, but it was a wonderful moment. And things like that have happened, over and over. And it's just been such a blessing to have been a part of that team. My college buddy, my best pal, Wayne Walker, was drafted by Detroit in the same round, I was drafted by Green Bay. And so Wayne played 15 years and never got close to a championship. And I got in 6 of them. We lost the first one and, of course, won the next 5. But how fortunate it was for me to, and, you know, I didn't get scouted, Glenn. The only scout that came close to me at the University of Idaho was a friend of Jack Benitez's, who was the head of a sawmill, and superintendent of a sawmill about 16 miles away from Moscow, Idaho. So he was the guy that scouted me and gave Jack the information, and Jack signed me off of that information. So it was a long and serendipitous trail, but it was a wonderful ride, just a wonderful ride.
Well, I'd like to say that I think that those kinds of stories, Jerry, are the essence of really what we want to have in the film. And, you know, you have a wonderful family. I've had a chance to meet your family, and they exemplify a lot of the things that you espouse. And you know, I think that everybody knows you as Jerry, you know, the 5-time champion winning Green Bay Packer and legend. But what makes a great film is when you're able to entertain. Of course, you have to entertain people, and we will with all the great clips of the Green Bay Packer footage and championships and all that. But we're going to educate people at the same time. We're going to allow them to kind of walk in your footsteps of your life and really see not only what you've done before, but where you are now and some of the things you're doing now and some of the things happening in your life. And I think that enlightening people to that is going to be something that Packer fans or football fans or just people in general, I believe this is going to be an inspirational story that'll inspire people to want to kind of live by those Lombardi principles.
You know, Glenn, I was like most young men coming through puberty and into manhood and not knowing who I was or where I was or what I was or if I was. And I was full of myself at one point. I think maybe the championship game in New York where I kicked 3 field goals was a highlight for me in those early years. And it was a wonderful experience. It's classic football, though. The team voted me the game ball, and they voted, the writers voted Nitschke the game Corvette. So that's normally the life of a lineman. I got the ball, he got the Corvette. Good deal. But Coach Lombardi was such an impact on your life and on your philosophy of life and your behavior and on and on and on. And I'm watching Bart Starr in our early years, and I don't know who Bart Starr is exactly. I don't believe that he's as good as he appears to be. I've never met anybody that consistently good. And so I figure I'll watch him like a hawk, and I'll catch him doing something that's not good, and I'll find out about him. And I watched him for several years, literally. And we're playing the Chicago Bears. I maybe have told this story before, but I'll tell it again. And Bart was second string, third string, back and forth, 2 or 3 years, 4 years. About the 4th year, he's starting. And we're playing the Bears, and Bart throws a long ball down the right sideline, and my defensive tackle stops, turns around, is watching the ball. Bart is watching the ball. Bill Center is watching the ball. Bill George, the middle linebacker for the Bears, is in the tradition of the great middle linebackers of the Bears. They've had a lot of them, but Bill isn't watching. Bill's coming, and he's got about a 5-yard run. And he hits Bart in the mouth with a forearm, splits his upper lip up into his nose, and he immediately starts to flow blood down the front of his jersey. And Bill George looks at him and, "You got to take care of you, Star, you blankety blank, blank, blank." And Bart gets up and says, "Bleep you, Bill George, we're coming after you." And I'm looking at Bart, and I'm looking at this exchange, and I said, "Bart, you better get sewed up. You're bleeding like a stuck hog." He said, "Shut up and get in the huddle." I said, "Yes, sir." So we got in the huddle, and Bart took us down the field 7 or 8 plays, bleeding like a fire hose, and scored, went to the sidelines. They laid him down on the bench and sewed him up. We weren't as delicate as the boys today, so they just sewed us up in front of the world, right? And Bart went back in the ball game the next series. He put himself back in the ball game. I'm all right. And he was all right. And he was all right from that point on. We understood at that time that Bart Starr had some steel in his back. Bart Starr had some discipline. Bart Starr had some strength, some inner strength that he wasn't using, he wasn't displaying. He's a very polite gentleman, a very wonderful gentleman. And his life was all about doing good. And I was thumbing through a book on Aristotle here a couple of weeks ago or so and thinking about Bart. And when Plato died, Aristotle was his #1 pupil. And Aristotle did a eulogy for Plato and said some nice things about him. He said, Plato was such a good man that evil men should not even be allowed to say his name. And he further said that he was a good man and he spread goodwill across the world, and that to be happy is to be good. To be happy is to be good. Good to yourself, good to your family, good to your children, good to your community. Just be a decent human being. And there's a great deal of happiness in that.
Incredible, incredible. You know, I shared in my group today, guys, that life is all about journeys, experiences, and relationships in regards to it. And I truly feel like this film, and that's why we got to make sure it is done. Jerry has such a journey that he's had and the experiences that it's still, when I don't know, Glenn, is it just me, man? Are you sitting there with goosebumps? Because I swear, the other day we talked about it. I have them now, and you know, the other day as well. And the stories that you tell, Jerry, are just incredible. That I myself want to make sure it is on the big screen.
Well, I'm confident. I've made a lot of films. I've probably been involved in over, I don't know, 150 films and television projects in my career. And in all honesty, I have never had one that I started and that I really believed in and I had passion for that didn't get done. And that's going to be the case here. When Jerry and I first met, we talked on the phone for about 20 minutes, and Jerry said, well, how would we do this? Explain to me how this works. So I kind of gave him some parameters. I really just kind of took the template from my Les Paul film and said, well, this is what I offered Les Paul, so I'll offer the same thing to you. And he said, well, I'd like to kind of see the whites of your eyes. Could you come up to Lambeau? I'm going to be there tomorrow, and we could maybe have some lunch, and then we could just, have a chance to really get to know each other. So I drove up to Lambeau. Of course, I raced up to Lambeau. It was such a great opportunity. And we met for lunch. And really, I was with Jerry and his agent, Mark Mayfield. And so I looked in Jerry's eyes because I said, Jerry, I can't guarantee you how much money we're going to make with it or how successful it can be in the marketplace. But I said, one thing I'll promise you is that the film will be every bit as good as your career has been. And so that's kind of my promise to Jerry. And, I put up a considerable amount of money. Like I said, I'm a small boutique company, but, and I was a little nervous thinking, wow, I hope this is a good decision and that we can really get this thing going and that, we can make it successful and profitable, make a successful project. And when we got up from the table, we were at the 1919 Cafe in Lambeau. We were kind of sitting in the back. I asked for a back table so we could, have a private meeting and not be disturbed because I know Jerry's fans are going to be coming up and wanting to talk to him. When we stood up from the table, the place was packed for lunch and the entire place stood up and gave a standing ovation. And I thought, I mean, you talk about a goosebump moment. It was just unbelievable. And everybody was coming up, but it wasn't just, older, people that are my age or older, it was young kids and girls and boys and young men and women. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be something really special. I just knew that. And Jerry, I don't know if you remember this. There was a gentleman that came up and said, "Hey, I have my 64 jersey here. I just bought this in the pro shop. Could you sign this for me?" And Jerry grabbed it, and he didn't just sign it like, here you go. He wrote a paragraph on there for this gentleman. Do you remember that, Jerry?
Not precisely. I do remember generally, but I have a tendency to try to leave more than a name and a number. I have always make it happen. You can, if you will, be the difference, make a difference. Just something that people can maybe take home with them, and maybe in another part of their life or at another time, it might help a little bit, or it might make a difference. So I've been trying to lead a good life and do the right thing, and not all of it's for money. I mean, you need to have money, you need to make money to survive. But if I decide to do something and there's some good people in the project, then I get a great deal of good out of it just being around them, Glenn. Just being around them, it makes me feel good. And so autographs are normally sold, but when people come up to you as kids and elderly people and virtually anybody that's not terribly sophisticated and a collector, they don't know that. So I'm not going to tell them that. I'm just going to treat them like the fans they are and like the support they've given me for so many years, and try to have a pleasant moment with them. So I've been doing that for a long time now, and I'm very comfortable with myself. And I've also found out along the road that my children are the most precious thing in my life, and that all of my needs, wishes, wants, dreams, schemes, whatnot are passing fancy on the screen, and pretty soon I'll be passing fancy. But it's wonderful to have some young children with you and hang out with you. And Alicia's been such a everything. She does everything. She's got me in the hall. She wrote letters. She got 65 letters from Hall of Famers. She and a fellow named Randy got a book of letters. And when I was called by Joe Horrigan at the Hall of Fame for them to tell me that I had been selected as a finalist, Joe Horrigan says to me, "Jerry, you have no idea how happy this makes me. This reduces my incoming mail by 90%. So thank you, Packer fans. Thank you very much."
It's incredible. I was just going to say, I had to stop for a minute and think, Daniel Kramer helped get this together, guys, tonight. So, make sure when this is all said and done, all you Packer fans out there, make sure you thank Daniel Kramer. Make sure you thank Alicia. Alicia went walking by a few minutes ago, guys, and before we went live tonight, and she was wearing one of our group T-shirts, just so you all know. So, Jerry, it's incredible to see your family. They rally around you. We saw them all at the Hall of Fame. They love you tremendously, and so do the fans, man. And could you give us just a small experience, if something that stood out in your mind at the Hall of Fame that just really touched you?
Well, first of all, Tony, Diane, and Danny were all there, as was Alicia, Matthew, and Jordan, all there. So that made the whole celebration that much better, to have my whole family there. And I think a highlight for me was when we went down on the field at halftime, and all the kids got to go with me. All 6 of the children went with me, and 2 of my nephews went with me. And there were 80,000 Packer fans sitting in the stadium, and I don't think any of them left at halftime. They stayed for the ceremony. But as we came out of the tunnel, we were going to walk across the end zone and down to the 50-yard line. And as soon as we came out of the tunnel, the folks in that section started to applaud. And then we went another 50 feet, and the people in that section would applaud. and they applauded me all the way around the stadium. And to have my two boys on my arms and all the rest of them with me to share that with me was really sensational. I was standing next to Mr. Baker when he announced my name, and they unfurled the name on the side of the stadium. And I had been with Jim Ringo the first time he saw his name, and quite an impact on him. And I knew it was going to be a very meaningful moment, but I went back to childhood, Jimmy. I went back to about the 4th or 5th grade. I'd seen it. My sister had sent me a picture of a young man in a coat, wintertime, snow 4 foot deep and snowing. And here was this kid out in the snow and walking with his sister. And that picture jumped into my mind when I saw my name on the wall. And my sister Carol had sent me a birthday card that year, not too long before that, that said, from 2 to 82. Quite a journey, Jerry, quite a journey. And it was. It's just a wonderful, wonderful ride.
Well, Jim, I'd like to remind everybody that's watching tonight that a lot of the things we're talking about, these moments with Jerry on the 50-yard line and walking around Lambeau, we have that, we filmed that obviously, and that's in the 5-minute video that you'll see if you go to the Kickstarter page. So for those of you that don't know, it's www.kickstarter.com, and just type in Jerry Kramer and you'll see the project. If you can, you will, or you can if you will. And then you just click in there and you can watch the video, and there's all kinds of cool rewards. And I want to stress that this isn't something where, we're looking for people to give us. This is really a matter of you can pre-order the film. We just need a little bit of finishing money for this. I put up most of the money that we needed so far, and we just need a little bit of finishing money. And so really it's an opportunity for pre-order the film. And if you want a poster, signed poster, or a t-shirt and some other things, or tickets to the premiere, we're offering some of those things for the fans. And it's a great opportunity for the fans to really be involved with us and tell us in real time while we have, I think, 29 days to go on the Kickstarter. You can tell us what you like and what you want to see in the film, and we can, try and deliver that for you.
I did post a link above this, and throughout the next couple of weeks until this project is finished, we will be posting links to it in our group each and every day. So, I know as Packer fans out there what they were able to do for Jerry to get him into the Hall of Fame. Now we have to help get Jerry on that big screen, so if you can, please click on the link, go visit it, go watch that 5-minute video. It's inspiring, and it's incredible to say the least. Jerry, I have to say one thing real quickly. I know a good friend of yours is watching. He's a great friend of mine. We talked about him the other day, Chad Orvit. Could you give Chad just a little hello real quickly for me?
Who is it?
Chad Orvit.
Oh, Chad. Shadrach. That's my pal. He's the guy that called me, and I was having lunch when I was nominated for the Packer or the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he said, "Congratulations." I said, "For what?" He said, "Your nomination." I said, "To what?" He said, "You've been nominated to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and you're a finalist." And I goes, "Wow, that's cool." So I had a chance to visit with Chad last week and have a hamburger with him and visit a little bit. So great kid. He's doing well. He's a huge Packer fan. And Jimmy, there's one thing I want to say here before we go is I really didn't know the Packer fans while I was in Green Bay. I mean, I knew who they were and they were out there, but I was so full of myself and my teammates and a whole bunch of things that I wasn't sure about the Packer fans. And we're playing my final game of my career in Green Bay against Baltimore. And we're down by 3 points. We get the ball with about 4.5 minutes to go. And on our 30-yard line, we chug. We go across the 40, across the 50, down to the 40, down to the 30. We're tearing up the turf like we always have and we always will. And we get to the 30-yard line and we fumble. I look up at the clock, it says 1:10. I said, it's over. The era is over. We're not going to be in the playoffs. We're not going to have another shot at the championship. It's over. And I start off the field and I hear a smattering of applause from the stands. And I'm going, it's over. Don't you understand? It's over. We're not going to win. We're not going to be in the playoffs. And I go onto the bench and the people are starting to stand up and there's more and more applause. And I went, oh, they know. They knew the moment I knew. They knew it was over and they're saying thank you. Thank you for all the years. Thank you for the championships. Thank you for the victories. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've done. And it was a seminal moment for me in understanding the fans. And it was a beautiful moment and one I'll always cherish. Go Pack, go.
Awesome. Jerry, Glenn, thank you guys very much for tonight. We're going to end it right here with this. Guys, get out there. Get on the Kickstarter. Let's raise the funds. I appreciate you both. Glenn, thank you. Jerry, thank you very much. And you guys have a wonderful night.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Go Pack, go.
All right. Go Pack, go.